February 7th, 2023, here in the Dallas, Texas area on a rainy day. Fortunately, it is not freezing cold, so we do not have freezing rain. We had that like all last week. It's 48 degrees right now. It's supposed to be a high of 61 degrees. So you may hear a little bit of dripping. I'm out here on the back porch, not sweating. In fact, my wife and I just got back from working out at the gym where we did a little bit of sweating, but now it's feeling good being outside, because I know in another couple of months it's going to be very warm in Texas. I'm sure probably by, I don't know, middle of March or into March we'll probably be in the 80s once again. So enjoying the no humidity here in Texas. So anyway, welcome, happy Tuesday, happy February 7th. Also for all of you Purdue fans out there, which I know that there are many of you, we are still ranked #1 in the country in basketball. So yay, even though we lost a squeaker after roaring back against our arch rivals IU Saturday. The teams below us had lost, and we were like a clear #1 last week. So anyways, good to be #1 again. In fact, Purdue's been #1 more than any team, any college basketball team in the country this year. So hopefully they can still stay there in another couple weeks when March Madness starts. So, Breakthrough Tour continues next Saturday, February 18th at 7 p.m. We will be in Houston, Texas, at the Courtyard in the Woodlands, up on the north side of Houston. And then February 26th, March 26th, Worldwide Deliverance Sessions. April 15th and 16th in Merkel, Texas, at the Fountain Gate Church, which is west of Dallas, west of Abilene. April 30th, Worldwide Deliverance Session, and June 10th, back in Dallas at the Courtyard in Plano, Texas. In fact, did a session with a lady yesterday who had been sent a TikTok video that I had done from the day before, and it's interesting because we're seeing so many people that are watching TikTok and then wanting healing and deliverance sessions. So it's amazing how the Lord wants to use all kinds of different venues to help his people get healed, set free, delivered. And so many people have been through so much pain, so much hurt, so much wounds, but if we can see that the people that hurt us and wounded us were also wounded and hurt, because hurt people, then we can forgive. And when we forgive, then that takes away a lot of legal rights from demons. We can then command those demons to go. So that explains why there are so many Christians that need deliverance, like all y'all in Texas terms, including leaders, pastors, worship leaders, intercessors, all y'all prophets need healed and delivered of your wounds, and then you will be much more Christ-like. You'll have the fruit of Christ. You'll have the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. And it saves you tons of money. And today, I've talked about this in the past. I try and talk about this at least a couple of times a year, because the Lord spoke to me and said, Nelson, do you realize how much healing and deliverance saves financially, just from a financial perspective? And so he had me write down, this is in the past, a lot of the different things that people would spend money on that they wouldn't spend money on if they were healed and delivered. And so the topic of the day is, have you considered the high cost of not getting delivered? So there's a lot of people, especially with inflation at, in some cases, 50% from like a year ago, 2 years ago, like electricity costs are through the roof, eggs, food, gasoline was hugely through the roof, about a year ago. So anyway, people are looking at ways that they can save money. Well, healing and deliverance, when you are healed and delivered, you're going to be blown away at how much things that you're not spending or wasting money on, because you're no longer submitting to demonic spirits, submitting to things you've made idols, before the Lord things that you think that you need, that you don't need, but maybe the enemy is telling you you do need, but you're not hearing the enemy anymore. So you have a lot more peace, a lot more joy, a lot more tranquility. So anyway, I put this down today. I wrote a kind of a mini blog, posted it on Facebook, posted it on my website, restoredtofreedom.com, and also posted it to YouTube. So you all can read this along with me if you want, but I'm going to go ahead and start. It says, it's amazing when you think about all the money that a person wastes when they have soul wounds and are not delivered from demons. When we get hurt and wounded growing up through our parents, relatives, neighbors, friends, enemies, people at church, people at school, people at work, you name it, etc., we will then hear demonic spirits whispering to us, trying to tempt us to do things that are ultimately not good for us. You know, oftentimes we get hurt, we get wounded, we turn to a counterfeit comfort. My good friend Robia wrote a book called Counterfeit Comforts. And I like that term because the Holy Spirit told her that. And that's so true. You know, you can think about it, the people that turn to a lot of alcohol, a lot of smoking, a lot of drugs, sex, spending. You could include trying to make themselves look beautiful or look handsome. They can go overboard on their expenses. All because they are hearing the enemy's voice telling them that if they drink this, smoke this, have sex with this, look at this, what else are there? Gambling as well. All these things will bring them a temporary comfort, and it is temporary for maybe an hour or 2 hours or a couple of hours, but it will wear off. And then when they come to the next day, they're like, oh my gosh, I feel really bad again still. And now I have $100 less because I wasted it on these stupid counterfeit comforts. And it could be overspending on clothes. So anyways, we'll hear demonic spirits whispering to us to drink, smoke, do drugs, overeat, have sex outside of marriage, look at pornography, try to look like a supermodel or a porn model, or play like a professional athlete. And then we spend all our money on these endeavors. And then we also have relationships and marriages with people who are unhealed, have demons, which cost us more money, spending it on frivolous things and enduring emotional abuse, leading to additional costs. So, like, you may have headaches if someone goes off on you for 3 hours and they don't stop. They keep going on and on and on and on and on, and you're like, oh my gosh, my head hurts. So you have to go to take another supplement to do all that. So have you considered the high cost of not getting delivered? When we are healed and delivered, we are able to save money from all of these expenses. And I've listed some. Again, this is not an exhaustive list, but it's what came off the top of my head yesterday when the Lord told me to write this. So, when you are healed and delivered, you no longer need to spend money on addictive things like alcohol, gambling, cigarettes, marijuana, vaping, puffing, cigars, drugs, food, sex, all those things you can never fulfill. People that have lust for money, lust for sex, you can never satisfy it. When you're healed and delivered, you don't do that anymore. You don't spend all this money on frivolous things. You are set free from that. I remember there's a woman that we did the testimony from Arkansas, Sherry, who was explaining how addictive that it was for her to vape. Like after she got done with church, well, she came to the church when we were there, and this is, gosh, how long ago was that? That's been almost 2 years ago. It was like in May of 2021. And the Lord spoke to me while I was there and said, the Lord wants to heal a lot of people's addictions. And just say, I give this to you, Lord. I don't want to struggle with this anymore. So she did that, not ever thinking that she would really get delivered from it. because it was so addictive. Like, she said that she would have to vape like every 10, 15 seconds. It was that bad. And so after the service, she went out to her car, grabbed her vaping tool, and was going to do the vaping and didn't have the desire to do it. So she's like, wow, that's weird. And then she drove on. Well, then later she was going to do it again, and she's like, I don't think I need to do this. And the Lord's like, no, you're healed, you're delivered, you don't need to do that anymore. So ultimately, what was an addiction was an idol, essentially, that I don't know how much it costs to do vaping because I've never done it, but I'm sure it costs something. So she didn't have to do that anymore, and she's never done it since. So now it's been almost 2 years, and that's a pretty addictive substance. You know, all these things are addictive. All of these things bring temporary comfort, but none of these things satisfy like Jesus truly wants for you. You know, but why did you do those things? Well, it's because you were hurt, you were wounded. So when you get hurt, you get wounded, you're going to hear demonic spirits. They're going to tempt you to do things. They're going to cost you money. They're going to waste your money. They're going to ultimately cause you to have no money left. You know, so many things, if you add up the costs of things that people do that aren't delivered, add up alcohol, cigarettes, marijuana, vaping, huffing cigars, drugs, food, sex, and I'll go on. I mean, you add up all these could be thousands of dollars every month that people are wasting on this. You know, and when you're healed and delivered, it's like, okay, now I can use money maybe to sow into ministries, or maybe do a mission trip, or do a deliverance, you know, host a deliverance for other people and pass it on, get more people healed and delivered. Now, sure, you can buy some other things for yourself that you truly have needs of, but a lot of these things, these demonic spirits, are going to cause you to believe that you need in your life, and you don't need it. It just steals money from you. Okay, you no longer, when you're healed and delivered, no longer need to spend a lot of money on things that are appealing to your vanity, you know, prideful things, such it could be very expensive cosmetics. Now, I'm not against cosmetics, God's not against that, but there are some people that spend a ton of money on that stuff, and in reality, you know, some of them don't need it really at all. Some of them need just a little of it. Some of it, I've just learned, will have demonic symbols on the cosmetics, like a pentagram from Satan, or they're named demonic things like, what was the things? Jezebel, like Jezebel, or sinful, or what else is there? Just a lot of seductive demonic things that are not godly. You know, other things, plastic surgery, fillers, hair treatments, expensive. You've got to have the latest clothes, fashion, supplements, tattoos, all these things. When you're healed and delivered, you know, you're like, hey, I don't need to go to that extreme anymore. You know, the people out in Hollywood that try to sell all these things. And I understand we want to look younger, but I'll tell you this, you look a lot younger when you get healed and delivered than you can ever do by trying to have a surgeon surgically do things to your body. And that's the truth. When you're healed and delivered, you feel younger. It's like you feel like a teenager. You've got a lot more energy. You don't have to take all these supplements and all these energy things because you have energy. It's not depleted. You don't need to spend money on identity issues, such as being transgender, surgeries, trying to be a man or a woman when you're not, and all the strife and surrounding it. You know, it's just crazy. It's crazy. I was reading just before I came on live that, remember the girl that was a surfer and she had her arm bitten off by a shark, and then she still surfs? And I think it was Dennis Quaid, I think it was, that did a movie about that story. Well, I just saw, I think it was on Instagram, where the girl said that I am not going to compete against transgender men, dudes. And I'm like, that is so wrong. Remember the girl, Leah Thomas, I think her name was, that was a guy, and then she was winning all these records and beating all these girls? How ludicrous, how crazy has society gone? So anyway, costs money when you've got identity issues. Other things you can save money on is you don't have to go to counselors, don't have to go to psychologists or psychiatrists, and pay them on a whatever basis, weekly basis, monthly basis. You know, when you're healed and delivered, you don't have to go back to anybody because now you hear the Lord. So just think how much money that saves. You don't have to also overspend money on cars, things that make your image puffed up. Cars, houses, expensive vacations, because you don't need to keep up an inflated image anymore to impress people. You know, how many people overspend on vehicles? Or they buy vehicles that look good on the outside, but on the inside, they're crap. And then they keep breaking down. You know, it's interesting. When I initially bought a car, I had a Pontiac Sunbird, it was my first car, and I almost died because I couldn't pass the school bus. I was like, this is nuts. It was a 4-cylinder. So I ended up getting a Mustang. It was a 6-cylinder. It had a lot more power, so I could pass school buses. But invariably, as I got older, in fact, when I got my first real job after I graduated from Purdue, I remember I was up in St. Cloud, Minnesota for 2.5 weeks, and I was going to be driving like, I think it was 70,000 miles a year, something like that. And I knew I needed to have a dependable car. And I looked up on, I think it was Consumer Reports, and they said some of the best vehicles were either Honda Accords or Toyota Camrys. And I'm like, I'm going to get me one of those because they're dependable. They're going to save me money over the long haul. And so I did. I bought a Camry, and I think I put 170,000 miles on it in 3 years. And then I got another Camry, and it was a really pretty white one, and that went for I think 200,000 miles over maybe 3.5 years. And then I got an Avalon. So I got vehicles. Now I've got an Acura MDX. I have vehicles that are supposedly supposed to be quality vehicles, and they'll last longer. So that's a wise decision. But there's a lot of people out there not healed, not delivered. They're going to get cars for image. Oh my gosh, I want to have, you know, whatever it is, a sporty sports car that they end up driving fast. They end up getting tickets. They end up slamming their brakes on too fast. It heats up the rotors, so they have to replace the rotors and the brakes every 6 months, you know, and all these things that increases the costs that they wouldn't have to do if they were healed and delivered. They'd be like, okay, I don't really need that. I can drive, you know, and nothing against a sports car. You know, there's a lot of people that drive it in a reasonable way and take care of it. But there's also a lot of people that aren't not healed and delivered, and they hear a lot of stuff going on there in their mind, and the enemy tells them what to get, and they end up, unfortunately, spending a lot of money over the life of the car. You know, my goal was to spend as least as I could over the life of the car. That's why I subscribe to Consumer Reports. In fact, most things that I would buy, I would see what the most reliable ones, dependable ones were. Not the flashiest appliances, but those that had a good quality over time. And that seemed to make wise decisions. But if you have, again, if you have people in your life that you are maybe responsible for, you may end up having to compensate for them, and it costs you money because of their lack of wisdom, and they're not healed and delivered. All right, what other things? You also will make much wiser decisions with who to be friends with, instead of people who will spend your money or encourage you to spend money in ways that are not wise, that are ridiculous. You know, you may have friends that want to go out, I don't know, go out to eat every single meal, and they spend all this money instead of eating at home. I think what they did a study on that. I mean, it's not hard to discern it, but I think eating out is like 3 times as expensive as eating in, something like that. So you can imagine if you don't have much money to begin with and you keep on doing that, it's going to cost you. Other things. Yeah. If you have, again, if you are healed and delivered, and then you wean your friends, your immediate friends, closest friends, down to those who are also healed and delivered, then you're going to have a lot more wise decisions and how you spend your time as well. Instead of evil things causing you to sin, costing you more money. You know, some of the concerts and so forth that are out there with these demonic groups, it's very scary if you get around people like that, because they're going to encourage you to do a lot of dumb things. You know, all the things that they do when they're there. Also, another thing, by getting healed and delivered, you're going to be healthier. And this is, I can speak to this because I got healed and delivered back in 2008, and I've not seen a doctor since. Not seen a doctor, not seen a chiropractor. You know, I used to go to the chiropractor frequently. I had backaches, and mainly backaches and headaches. I don't have them anymore. I have not had a headache. The last time I had one was like when was that? I think it was 2012. And it was only temporary, and I commanded it to go. And it's only because I was driving like a cement truck on the tallest bridge in Ohio, because I was transitioning out of my business world into the ministry. But I only had it, and it was because I was working from like 4 o'clock in the afternoon all night long until 8 in the morning. So it was pretty stressful driving a semi truck that I've never driven before. So anyway, I commanded that to go, and it was healed, and never have I had a headache ever since. So I don't have to take Tylenol, ibuprofen, and all that stuff, because number one, the Lord told me I wouldn't have to, as long as I truly trusted and believed in Him. And there are some things that the enemy would put upon me that would test me. Sometimes they were for a couple of weeks, sometimes they might be for 6 months, sometimes they might even be longer than that. But I've continued to have the faith to say, I thank you, Lord, you're going to heal me of everything in Jesus' name. And you know, I've gone to the dentist for cleanings, but not had any cavities, and I've not seen the doctor. Don't have a doctor. For how long has it been? 2008. So that's been a long time. What, 15 years? A long time. So, and you add up how much you would spend. Like, I don't have health care, no health care insurance. I don't worry about it. You know, how many people have spent lots of money on that? Well, that's where their faith is at. And the Lord told me, where your faith is, that's where you're going to spend your money at. So anyways, so you're going to be healthier. And the other thing is, they've done studies and said that people who have cancer, 61% of them have not forgiven those who have hurt them. So if somebody did you wrong and hurt you, you will tend to be angry and bitter about it. And that can cost you. You can have cancer as a direct result for not forgiving. So that's why a lot of people who have been hurt badly, you know, we've all been hurt and wounded by people who have been hurt and wounded. And if we would have followed Jesus's example, Matthew 6:14 through 15 says, if we forgive others who have sinned against us, then God will forgive us. But if we don't forgive them, God will not forgive us. Remember the guy that, he actually was a pastor from Michigan. He wasn't a priest, but apparently somebody in the story thought he was. But he was a pastor from Michigan, and he did good things, and then he had a heart attack, and then he was taken to hell. And he couldn't believe it. He's like, I did all these good things. What in the world? And God told him, the reason why you're going to hell is because you wanted me to punish people who hurt you. You wanted justice. Because that's up to me. I'm God, not you. You didn't forgive them. Now, fortunately, he took him back into his body so he could tell others and say, listen, we got to forgive. Otherwise, if you don't forgive, that can take you to hell. And it can give you cancer. So, again, healing and deliverance will make you healthier. You'll also be drawn to marry people, have relationships with people who are healthy and delivered. You know, if a person's not healthy and delivered, they may physically look attractive, but inside of them, they may say things and do things that you're like, I don't want to be a part of that. I don't care how attractive that you are. If you are living a life full of sin, I want nothing to do with that. Because you'll have to compromise, and that allows demonic spirits to attack them, and then they, in turn, will attack you. I know what that's like. That's not fun. So, and when you do get delivered, healed and delivered, you can get married to another person who is healed and delivered. And then you'll have a lot of peace instead of strife. You have strife that can lead to divorce, and divorce is very expensive. Also, then your children will be healthier because you won't be hurting them with your words of condemnation or your actions. Thus, when we are healed and delivered, we don't waste money on foolish things. We have much healthier relationships with godly people who won't give you ungodly advice and waste your money on temporal, Temporal things. You won't have to spend money on the mistakes also of family members because your family bloodline will then make wise decisions. That's why the Bible talks about that, how you will be blessed, for generation to generation to generation. It's in Deuteronomy. When you obey the Lord. When you disobey, when you follow all the things that the demons are telling you, you're going to be cursed in lots of ways. Hosea 4:6 says, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I reject you from being a priest to me. And since you have forgotten the law of your God, I also will forget your children." John 10:10, "The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly." Proverbs 16:25, "There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way to death." And that's where a lot of people that are not healed, not delivered, end up doing, is they make all these bad decisions. People get hurt and wounded, I get it. And then they get demonic spirits and they make all these bad decisions that cost them lots of money. And then they become penniless. Or you have relationships with people that are not healed and delivered, and then they make you penniless. So Proverbs 13:11, "Dishonest money dwindles away, but whoever gathers money little by little makes it grow." 1 Timothy 6:9, "Those who want to get rich fall into temptation and a trap, and into many foolish and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction." Proverbs 10:22, "The blessing of the Lord brings wealth without painful toil for it." So after you have gone through the healing and deliverance process, and that is a process, you tend to, you can go obviously to an event. You can get some significant things broken off, but you continue to have to walk this out. And I always talk about that. The enemy's going to try to tempt you to sin, to give it legal rights. He's going to have people that are going to hurt you, say things about you that are wrong, evil, bad, and then you take an offense, you don't forgive, and demons have legal rights to torment you. So it is a process to walk this out, and it's an extreme important process. For there's a lot of Christians that never have. They ask Jesus to come into their hearts, and then they keep living like the world or like Satan, and they keep treating people horribly because they've not gotten their wounds healed. They've not been delivered from the demonic spirits. So they've got a lot of pride. They've got a lot of selfishness. They've got a lot of fruit of the flesh. Galatians 5:16 through 20 talks about that fruit of the flesh and says that if you regularly practice those things, that you're not going to inherit the kingdom of God. You're not on your way to heaven. And that's where a lot of people are in the church, is they've never truly made a decision to want to follow Jesus. They've never truly forgiven those who have hurt them, repented for their pride, repented for their sin, stopped all their idols that they've been worshiping and wasting money on. So anyway, after you've been healed and delivered, watch all the ways that you will be financially blessed and how much peace that you will have. So you can get healed and delivered by reading my latest book, Freedom from Soul Wounds and Demons. A lot of people are buying it here in the last couple of months and seeing great results and saying thank you, because now they're like, I feel healed and I feel delivered. I feel lighter, I feel pure, I feel clean. I have the fruit of the Spirit in my life now. I don't struggle with sexual impurity and pride, and I want to help other people. I'm not selfish anymore, and I don't want to control other people. I can encourage other people to do what's right. They have a free will to choose to do that or not. So anyway, there's a book that I wrote called Freedom from Soul Wounds and Demons, available on Amazon in paperback, in Kindle, and in Audible. And I'm the one that reads that. And I wrote that book specifically to give to people who don't have a clue that they're dealing with demonic spirits, so that they can understand it. I explain how more than, 57%, I think, of pastors struggle with pornography. That's not good. They need to get healed of their wounds and delivered, because it's really hard to talk about sexual purity and walking it out when a person's not doing it, because they kind of feel like they're a hypocrite, because they are. So anyways, I wrote the last several years of what I've learned of taking a person through healing and deliverance, and I put that in the book so that people can read it and they can actually get their wounds healed and get the demons out on their own. They can read that. And of course, I do sessions every week. If you want a session from me, you can schedule an appointment with my assistant, Tina Kirkpatrick. Just send her your phone number so she can call you. Her email address is tina.k@restoredtofreedom.com. Again, Tina K@restoredtofreedom.com. And then she will reach out to you and then schedule the appointment. And we do appointments with people all over the world. Last week, did one with a guy from the UK. I think it was from Ireland. Had an Irish accent. And done with people from Switzerland and Sweden and South America and Africa and South Africa and where else? Of course, Canada, United States, England, Mexico. Did one from Mexico actually the other week. So anyways, that is all. I'll try and keep these to 30 minutes. So I will let you guys go. And again, pursue inner healing and deliverance. We have some people that have watched and followed for a couple of years. And it's up to you. I tell people I cannot get anyone delivered that does not want to. So contrary to others that might think that you can yell and scream demons out of people, you can't. You can't. If they want to be healed and delivered, you can have them forgive those who hurt them and repent. Now again, if they're a child, you do have more authority. But even then, once they get to be 17, 18 years old, if they've been touched sexually, you need to have them do their part, and that is to forgive those who hurt them. And if they refuse to, those demons aren't coming out. You can be as anointed as you possibly can, And I've done these, I don't know how many. I don't know. I've had to have done at least, I don't know, individual sessions versus adding in the corporate, probably over 10,000, I would guess by now, with all the corporate people. On Facebook and YouTube and things like that. But every week we get more and more people that share the results, saying thank you so much, give their testimony. This changed my life, saved my life, set me free. Again, and if you have been impacted positively, if you want to leave a review, you can do that. Of course, you can go out to Facebook, leave a review, or you can go out to any of the books that I've written and leave a review. I think we're up to 54 reviews now in the latest book, Freedom from Soul Wounds and Demons. And great stuff that's happening. Yay. So, all right. I will let you guys go. And have a great rest of your Tuesday. Stay warm out there. Alrighty. See ya. Bye-bye. Saying goodbye to Facebook.